Yeah. So I was wanting to share with you regarding this story and everything which happens is about spreading about message of loving each other and taking care and kindness and the message of God towards all human beings. During this pandemic, have you seen so many people have died? And I was reading in the news, I was going through the newspaper, and there were few incidents of these children or these young boys who were coming away from Surat and they died on the way. Guys, two friends died in front of him, and there was this Muslim and Hindu boy traveling from Surat. They were coming to Uttar Pradesh, and in Madhya Pradesh somewhere his friend was very sick, but giving him paracetamol and water and all that too, he did not alive. He was not able to sustain the pressure and this sickness of his own sickness and this hunger, so what this pandemic has brought, just try to think that we are so safe and you are so safe at home, and these boys were just wanting to come back to their family. So guys, just try to think sometimes, there are so many people who are out there really, so we must try to help out. And this guy, this Muslim guy, this boy, Muslim boy, he was very sick, and this other friend of his was Hindu. He could have said, "Arey, you are a Muslim boy, I am a Hindu boy, I am sitting in the truck and going by, I am going to go." Different caste, different religion, they didn't care, but they were good friends when they were working in Surat, like brothers. And this truck driver, useless man, he says that you leave that boy alone, throw his luggage down, you sit, remove his luggage and you sit inside the truck, I'll take you. He said, you go. I cannot leave my friend like this. But ultimate, I'm so sad, it's so sad. At times his friend died. I was very touched. Again, I listened to a lot of radio during this pandemic lockdown. I read a lot of books. I read The Alchemist. It was on Kindle. I am a member of Kindle, so I read a lot of Kindle books from Amazon. And I go on the Kindle app. I have a Kindle app also, so I read a lot. And there was another issue about this radio. In the morning I hear to 92.7 from 8:30 in the morning. So I listen to music as well as I get to know about the news in Muzaffarpur and all over Bihar. So it's nice, you get to know music at the same time you listen to it. So radio is not bad. And there was this child in this channel number was 91 point something, 91.9 I guess, or 91.1 something like that. And this class, this 8 years old boy is from Kashmir. He had a small piggy bank. He was saving up money to buy a cycle. And on the radio itself he heard that so many people are dying, people are not getting to eat also for this pandemic. And he went ahead to some government officers, I guess some IG or SP or someone, the development officer or someone, or the DM's house he went, and he met in person, and he said that I want to donate my piggy bank money to the children who are like me and so many families who are there. At least whatever money is there you give, at least few people can eat a meal and I will feel blessed. That small kid of 8 years old, and he was speaking so well on the radio. This radio jockey, this woman, this lady, she was asking him questions and he was speaking in a bit of Hindi, but maximum was in English, and I was really surprised. And I just listening to him, I was thinking he must be having such great parents. It's not about Hindu or Muslim or Christian or any caste or creed. I'm saying about that human being, that small child. And the officer who was there, or that government official who was there, he was also surprised, and he said, "What, are you serious?" He said, "Yes." So he gave the money to the officer and he said, "Please put this into the Prime Minister's relief fund so that someone can get a meal." And he didn't know how much cash was there. So the officers might have told him in the radio, when I was listening. So the officers told him that he had something 4,000 or 3,000 or 4,000, something like that. I'm forgetting the amount. So the radio jockey lady is asking him that, don't you mind so much of money? Your parents didn't say anything. He said, my parents supported me. And what is there? Again, I'll save up for a cycle. I can buy my cycle later, but the people need food there. It's much more important than my cycle. So can you imagine that 8-year-old boy has that much of feeling? I am proud to be an Indian. We should love each and everybody in and around. So you don't know where who's going to help you out when you are in trouble. God sends, how He's going to send help, we don't know. So we have to have faith in Him. So now we are all in faith of God. We are all depending upon God. God, when this is going to stop? We can't go and ask Modi ji when it's going to stop. Prime Minister also doesn't have the answer. Isn't it? Government officials don't have the answer. So God has the answer. God, when will this stop? Isn't it? So it's like that. I wanted to share this information with you. And it's really great to be with you guys. And let's get back to history so that I can solve the questions with you. Okay. So we were at this place at the sources of archaeological itinerary. During this period, as I told you, archaeological sources were the temples and the Muslims when they came in, the Mughal dynasty when they came in, they gave us a lot of stability to our country and rapid growth of town and cities, which I said just now. Archaeological sources, I told you about mosques, forts, temples, and 5 dynasties were a part of the Delhi Sultanate. That's when we go to the next chapter, we'll know. Sultanate-e-Delhi during the period of 1206 to 1526, that's 320 years. But a single dynasty, the Mughal dynasty, ruled over India from 1526 to 1857, 331 years. Okay. Basic information I gave you. Now, what happened is the economic history of the time, rulers, dynasties, South India encouraged temple building, temples and rich sources of religious and cultural history was there, paintings, valuable source as they tell us all about customs, food habits, dress and jewelry as I talked about it earlier. And then we have the period, you will also read about the various schools of painting that flourished during this part. Coins I told you about. Then we have Alauddin Khalji, the list of coins minted during that time, an examination of coins, the Darya Pariksha was written during the reign of Alauddin Khilji. Then the list of coins minted during that time, it's a great historical value. Inscriptions from South India record like proclamation of kings and gifts to the temples, what they donated to the temples for God, and their writings on copper plates and all. In literary sources, as I said, there was a lot of paper at that time, biographies, autobiographies, farm and correspondence letters were written. And then we had coins. So, there will be pictures, there must be pictures in your book. Yes, coins, we have some pictures, in literary sources are there. Okay. Chronicles, a chronicle is a record about what? Of the rules of the kings and life at the court, not the justice court, but his court, his darbar. That's a chronicle. Most kings had court chroniclers who wrote in details. Chroniclers wrote about chronicles. Okay. During their reign, most of the writings were in Arabic, Persian and Turkish. Some important chronicles of the medieval period are, which one I told you we talked about was Raj Tarangini by Kalhana, then Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barani, the history of the sultans, he wrote Delhi till the reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, then Tariq-e-Firishta, Delhi sultans from the time of the Turks till the 17th century, then Khazainul Futuh by Tughlaqnama by Amir Khusro, which dealt with the Khaljis and the Tughlaqs. Okay, autobiographies and biographies. What are among autobiographies? The most important was the Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi, Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Babarnama by Babar, Turki Jahangir by Jahangir himself. Some important biographies of the medieval period are Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai. Then I told you about the Humayun-nama by Gulbadan Begum. And then we have the Akbar-nama by Abdul Fazi, describes the events of Akbar's reign during that time. Then the travel logs we were talking about, I told you about the travel logs. This is the last part in your chapter. About Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta. Okay, Ibn Battuta also wrote the Rihla travels. He gives a lot of information about the geography of India, where he travelled around. Al-Biruni, who came from Central Asia, gave this also. Abdur Razak, who was sent by the ruler of Persia to the kingdoms of Vijayanagar down in the south. Travelers from Europe came, as I said, Marco Polo, Durate, Barbosa. Then we have William Hawkins, we have Sir Thomas Roe from England, and Bernier, Tavernier from France. So these are the names which are there in the book, you will also get. So to just chapter it out, so the 18th to the 8th to the 18th century is regarded as the medieval period of India. It's divided into early medieval and later medieval. The medieval period was characterized by the growth of Indian culture, many centuries of stability, greater contact between India and other parts of the world. Mainly it was through trade and growing popularity of the Bhakti and Sufi movements. Basic archaeological literary sources are available in the medieval period. Monuments, artifacts, paintings, coins, inscriptions are some important archaeological sources. Important literary sources include chronicles, biographies, autobiographies, records and travel writings. Done. Okay. So this is amount of it. Like this is how we go about it. Question answers are there. But I just want to tell you something. Yes, about Al-Biruni. When he came to India, he had said something about the countries he visited. Hundreds of travelers have come to India. Out of that, Al-Biruni, he had describing the festival of Diwali. When the sun marches in Libra, it is called Diwali. Then people bath, dress, festive, they ride to the temples to give alms, to give alms. They give prasad. You put prasad to the god and play merrily with each other till noon. In the night, they light a great number of lamps in every place so that the air is perfectly clear. That was how they spent Diwali. That's what Al-Biruni had said. Then we have Marco Polo's description of coconut tree, which he saw for the first time in his life when he came to India. It is a tall as huge building with no branches and leaves at the top. Its fruits are big as a human head. That is what Marco Polo said for a coconut tree. Because he had come to India, Marco Polo was traveling, he wanted to go around the world, but he came side from the wrong side and he entered into India. Okay. Then Ibn Battuta, on the welcome given to Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq, when the Sultan comes back from his journeys, he said elephants are decorated and over 16 of them are raised 16 parasols, some brocade with some set of jewels. Woolen pavilions are built several stories high, covered with silk cloths, pandals and singing girls and dancing, wearing the most beautiful dresses and ornaments. In the center of each pavilion there used to be a large tank made of skins and filled with rose syrup dissolved in water, which we say as which we have that rose water, what do you say of that, Rooh Afza. That is also rose water drink which you have, from which all the people that used to say they used to say all comers, natives and strangers may drink. Then he saw 3 or 4 small catapults set upon elephants throwing dinars and dirhams among people. So he used to throw money to people when the Sultan used to come in. About Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Sultan, not the Salman Khan Sultan, the Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So this is how they get information, how the kings used to spread money. Then Tavernier of the he wrote about the beautiful peacock, the peacock throne of Emperor Shah Jahan. Rubies, emeralds and diamonds were chief stones, with plenty of gold and pearls around them. That's why it was called a peacock. It was dressed up like a peacock, beautiful colors with the stones. So imagine how much that throne would have cost. Shah Jahan's throne, the peacock throne. Tavernier from France, they had never seen anything like that. Like when Babur wrote about Hindustan, about India in his Baburnama. It's a remarkable fine country, he had written. It is quite different world compared with other countries. Its hills and rivers, its forests and plains, its animals, plants, inhabitants and other languages, its wind and rain are all different in nature. Okay, so these are the observations the people gave about India. So Babur was so happy about it. So this is here we finish this chapter. I guess it's clear to you and we are done with this. I'll get to you with the question answers and we'll discuss that right now and I'll put it up for you. question. So chapter 1 is done, guys. And later I can give you some more information about the Rashtrakutas and all, because there's no details in this. I don't want to put pressure on you, okay? So this is only, it is said here in the medieval period into early medieval period and later medieval period. In the 13th century, 8th to 13th is about the Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and the Rajputs. They'll come later in the chapter, I guess. That will come in the second chapter. No, yes, we have the Chauhans, the Tomars of Delhi, the Rajputs, the Parmars, the Solankis of Gujarat, and Kannauj will do that in the next chapter. I don't want to put pressure. So whatever is there in this chapter, we'll go with the book for you all. But for me, I can go to any extent. Okay? So I'll come back with the questions and we'll get this done. Just wait for some time. I'll be right back. Okay, one thing more, guys. I hope you're doing your handwritings, right? Every day, one page without fail. But do that in your free time, not your study time. I'm back just now. Sorry, I'll be back just now.